Everybody, welcome to our webinar. We are Yaveon, and we create the best solutions for process manufacturers. A couple of notes before we get started. So go to webinar. Most of you have probably used it before. We will record this webinar. It will be available to watch again. If you have questions, you can enter them in the chat. Or actually, there's a question panel and a chat panel. We'll be monitoring both. And you can also adjust other things like the audio settings using the toolbar, which is usually on the right-hand side of the screen. And please submit questions as you have them. I'll try and answer them via chat if we can. If not, we will stop and answer them during the session if it's appropriate, or we'll save them for the end. But we will get them answered one way or another. So our agenda for today, the purpose of this webinar is to introduce you to Yaveon 365's process manufacturing ERP solution that's built on Business Central. We'll start off with some introductions. We'll introduce the team that's doing the presentation today, do a couple of slides that tell you a little bit about Yaveon 365. Then we'll jump into some live demonstrations of 3 of our apps: lot management, quality, and manufacturing. And we'll, as I promised, we'll save a few minutes at the end for Q&A. My name is George Delp. I'll be your host. Patrick Core is going to do the heavy lifting with the demonstration, and then helping with the facilitation of our session today is Emerson Cox. So our mission from the beginning has been to create a process manufacturing extension for Business Central. So the industries that Business Central out of the box is a good discrete manufacturing solution. We turn it into a solution that is also good for pharmaceutical, food, chemical, and cosmetics, and biotech. Typically, those industries have recipes and formulas, quality, a lot of lot management, traceability, all kind of concerns there. Notice I didn't say medical device, because medical device is more of a discrete manufacturing solution. But along with pharmaceuticals, we're compliant with FDA regulations here in the United States, and we have a whole validation toolkit. So since we're good for pharma, we're also good for medical device. We have many different apps. This is a chart of all the various apps that we have. We're going to focus on 3 today: lot management, manufacturing, and quality control. I like to think of those like if you wanted a Yaveon starter set, those are the 3. Those are the 3 apps that'll turn Business Central into a full-fledged process manufacturing solution. Love to talk to you about some of these other apps. We can do that on a later date on another webinar, but today this is all we'll have time for. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick.
Thanks, George.
All righty, Patrick. There we go.
All right, we're good to go, right? I will turn off my camera because I will have a look at the other screen and just see my profile. So there we go. All right, hi everybody. Now the demo part, the exciting part. So what we want to have a look at today, George mentioned it, our 3 classic apps: the lot management app, the quality assurance app, and at last but not least, we will finish with our manufacturing application. I will just show some highlights, of course, not everything, because otherwise we would run out of time. Talking about time, let's get started. Let's have a look first at our inventory summary screen. That comes as a part of our lot management application. And why is this a great page when we're talking about food, pharma, chemical projects? Well, whenever we're talking to supply chain people, they want to know what's actually going on with my inventory. How much inventory do I have on hand? What's the status of my inventory? Or even more information like, hey, is it by any chance on a license plate, like on a pallet or a drum? That's all the information that our inventory summary page provides. Let me quickly apply a filter because we want to not have a look at all of those items. So the topic for today is actually shrimps. I will explain in a bit why shrimps. This is not another episode of Forrest Gump, no worries, but we will have a look at how can we create different kind of recipes. And the cool thing about the shrimps is that we can even show creating processes, which is a pretty nice functionality that comes with our manufacturing piece. But for now, let's have a look at our current stock situation. So what do we see right away? On the left, of course, nice little feature, our traffic lights. It's very self-explaining, right? We have the green lights, the red lights, the yellow lights. Red light tells us right away, okay, there's something is not correct. Something is going on with that inventory. And the good thing is those traffic lights can be set up per user. We can have multiple, we call it traffic light rules in the system. And here my setting is, well, whenever the quality status is blocked, please show me a red traffic light. And of course, when it's released, green. And if it's in quarantine, please show me a yellow traffic light. And as I said, this can be set up for or per user. That means if somebody is more interested in like, okay, just show me the inventory that is about to expire, then we can set up those traffic light rules for such scenarios as well. Now the big question is, okay, what do we do? That's just a traffic light, right? This is just like a recommendation to the user. That's information provided on that page. But the actual impact on the inventory is coming from our so-called posting rules. The posting rules allow us to actually manage the availability situation per lot. And as we can see here, let's pick up that example for our white leg shrimps frozen from a shrimp farm. They're on a pallet and they're blocked. So far, so good. And how can I make sure that we're now not able to consume it? Or if we're a trading company, how can I make sure that we're not able to ship it? And let's have a look at our posting rules. As you can see here, we can have an impact on our ERP processes in multiple ways. So it's not just about availability. As I just mentioned, we can also have an impact on picking processes or consumption process, as well as the shipping processes. For now, let's keep it simple. Let's have a look at the availability situation, because that's always an interesting question. Okay, what do I really do have on hand, and how can I make sure that MRP is giving me the right recommendation to maybe replenish packaging materials or replenish my raw materials? So how can I make sure that I'm not running out of stock all of a sudden because I had some failed quality inspections in the last couple of days? And that's what our posting rules can also ensure. We tell the system, look, whenever a lot has the status blocked, please do not consider that as available and exclude it from MRP. That means MRP will tell us, hey, we need to reorder something because we're running out of stock as soon as we're hitting certain reordering limits. And the good thing is we can have multiple rules in the system. We could even prioritize them, telling the system like, okay, maybe I have a general rule, but every now and then I do have exceptions. And so I can prioritize. We all know priority 1 is more important than priority 2, and that's how we can set up such exceptions. Another interesting part of that functionality is, of course, well, we're talking about blocked, expired. That's pretty straightforward. We don't want to use anything that is blocked or that already is expired, especially not in food or pharma industries, right? But what about it's still in quarantine or in quality control? So there's something ongoing. Well, for those kind of scenarios, I can just set up another rule where I say, okay, look, for those kind of scenarios, I do not necessarily want to reorder right away. And talking about those status and quality, let's go back to our overview. We actually do see right away the impact on our posting rules here in this nice little info box, right? We don't need to click through the system. Actually, from an end user perspective, there is no need to always go into those posting rules and figure out what's going on. We can just stay on our inventory summary, have a look at our availability situation that we do see right here on the right. Those little details are also part of course, sales lines or the item card, so I can always keep track of those information. And well, we do see right away the overall inventory for that white leg shrimp is actually 8,344, but currently we just had 3,360 pounds that are actually available, right? And so that is the impact of our posting rules. And when we have a look at this line here, so what do we have here? This is still yellow, it's in quarantine, and it's still on a receiving bin. That's typically part of our template, or let's say the master process for receiving. So we do receive. First, we put it, however you want to call it, on hold, or we put it into like a quarantine status that is not necessarily allowing us to consume it right away, to use it for our manufacturing process, or to maybe ship it right away if it's a trading item. No, we just put it on hold. And of course, somebody needs to do some quality testing now. And that is now part then of our quality assurance app that we can add on top of such features like status or the expiration date. And how does this look like? We do have, of course, inspection order available for that lot. And where's this inspection order coming from? Well, we do have the capability to actually set up inspection plans for items or item groups like food raw materials or food finished goods, something like that. And we can determine different kind of triggers so that the system automatically generates those inspection orders for us in the background. We can then go ahead and process those inspection orders, whether in Business Central or on our scanning application. But for now, let's keep it simple. Let's stay in Business Central. So what do we see? Well, all the relevant information. We do see where it's coming from. We do see what is the actual document number that it's coming from, the purchase order, purchase receipt information. And of course, we do see lot information, right? So we know now, okay, we received our item white leg shrimp with a lot number 30. And now we can do some, that's a very simple quality test, of course, where it's more like a checklist, right? Is the labeling in place? All right, it is. Is the packaging in place? All right, it is. Is the COA attached? Well, yeah, we're having a good day. So let's assume it is attached. So what the system knows automatically then, yeah, well, it's finished. There's no further action item needed. We're still within our specs, and we can actually finish our inspection order. Let me quickly do that. So what we can see here is that we have some more functionality available. So what is frequently used, of course, is the usage decision. So based on the quality result, I might want to change the status, right? Maybe I want to block it. Maybe I want to release it. That depends a little bit if the test failed or has passed, right? And we're talking about finished goods. I could also use the finished inspection order to actually create a certificate of analysis right away out of Business Central. There's no jumping between different systems. I can just do everything right away within Business Central and can attach it if I want to a sales order or to a sales shipment, or if that is needed. And if I'm operating maybe more in the pharma or highly regulated food space, I could even think about adding like CAPAs, where I can keep track of certain issues by creating incidents that will determine then corrective and preventive actions. So that is another module, our incident management application, not a topic for today, but of course, somehow it plays perfectly well together with our quality module. So that's a lot of information. Let's go back. So what do we see now? All of a sudden, we have a green traffic light. I didn't even change the status, right? So we still always have the possibility to change the status manually. That comes also with our lot management application. But the good thing is if I combine the lot management application and the quality assurance app, I can make sure that status changes automatically based on the quality result. And that is what we see here. The system automatically knows that or change the status based on the information given on my inspection order previously. So before we deep dive a little bit into the manufacturing piece, let me just highlight one more functionality, because every now and then that scenario will hit us in real life, and that is of course lot splits. So what do we see? Actually, we do see our lot number 27 here, white leg shrimp. So far so good, as a quantity of 840. But what about this? Why is this blocked, and what is this /001? Well, based on quality testings or manual actions, I can always split lots because, well, we all know accidents can happen, right? Every now and then, maybe something is getting broken, or we just forget to put it into the freezer, right? And it's getting a little bit too warm. So we want to block partials, not necessarily the whole lot, just that quantity that is actually affected by the incident. And that's what we can do. We just split it, and we can treat it separately from the rest of the lot number and add a dedicated status just for that splitted quantity that we do see here. All right. So what have we seen? A lot of different functionality that is all around status management, right? Expiration date management, availability, just to make sure that we do not use anything we're not supposed to use. And of course, what is the idea? We want to make sure that whenever we do use inventory raw materials for our manufacturing process, we're actually allowed to use it. That would be then our next topic, the manufacturing piece. So what do we do with our shrimps? Well, as we can see here, I added some more components we see in a bit on our manufacturing specification again. The manufacturing specification, let me just mention that quickly, that can be seen as a recipe or formula, depending a little bit on the industry we're talking about. But from a functional perspective, both the very same, and we just call it manufacturing specification. And for our recipe, we will use some tomato sauce, garlic powder, it's a very simple recipe, and some table salt. And now we will jump to our manufacturing specifications. Let me quickly apply a filter again. So what do we see? Two different specifications, one for white leg shrimps, 1 pound package, and another one, shrimps and tomato sauce. Pretty straightforward. Let's have a look at our shrimps in tomato sauce. Whenever we have to deal with pharma, food, chemical, every now and then, also cosmetic projects, it is possible that we're facing capacity issues, right? We're talking about machines, capacities, volume of machines, and we're not always able to produce any quantity we want to produce. So we have to split production into batches. And that's also one of the functionalities that comes with our manufacturing module. So we can tell that we have a recipe for our shrimps in tomato sauce, but I want to produce everything in batches. The good thing is this is also fully integrated into our traceability. So we can actually go ahead, produce batch 1, batch 2, batch 3. We always can keep track of what raw materials, packaging materials we have used for all those different batches. And a quick look into the lines, that is one of the bigger differences compared to standard Business Central. So we're combining the BOM and the routing within one page. There's no jumping. We really create one recipe or one formula for one item. We can have, of course, multiple versions, right? That is possible. And if we want to have double checks, we could even always add functionality from our compliance application so that we maybe add like a electronic signature on top so that we can only create and certify a new version as soon as a review has happened, right? So that is a possibility, but it's not mandatory. As long as we don't need our electronic signatures, we're good to go, and we can just always create new versions. And in the lines, what do we see? Well, this is pretty, I would call it a pretty regular recipe, right? We need to provide the materials, and we cook our shrimps, and they're going into a freezer, and then we do have the packaging. So that's a very straightforward recipe that we see here. Of course, we can always handle different unit of measures, mix them together. We have a lot of conversion settings in place to make sure that we always have the right calculations on our production order later on. So this is a very straightforward recipe. But on top of our manufacturing specification, now let me quickly have a look at the overview again. We could actually use our manufacturing specifications to generate co and byproducts. There are actually different use cases for those kind of scenarios. So we could maybe create something, seeds, shrimps, large, small. That's exactly the scenario I want to show here. But whenever we're talking about chemical processes, you really sometimes have actual byproducts or co-products. And the interesting topic is always like we want to assign the costs, right? That is the interesting part. So we have one input good. That's our white leg shrimp, of course. Of course, a little salt, packaging materials. So far, so good. But what I can also do is I can just add multiple output goods. So we do see that one of the output goods, like the main output good, is our shrimp large. But let me quickly show you that we also have the capability to just add, we call it joint products, co-byproducts, depends a little bit on the setting, what exactly it is. And we can just add multiples. That's also, of course, a nice functionality when we're talking about cutting, not just crating or any chemical manufacturing processes, but also cutting. And the interesting part about having multiple output goods at the very same time is actually the cost aspect, right? So it's not necessarily that we're able to output multiple times and multiple items. So far, so good. That's pretty straightforward. But the interesting topic is actually the costs. So when we have a look at the shrimps, I'm probably good to go where I say, look, no matter which size, my raw materials, they have the same costs, and I want to assign the cost just based on the actual output quantity, because I don't have different costs between my large and my smaller shrimps. But what about beef? What about tenderloin and the ribeye? The tenderloin is way more valuable. And I cannot just do the cost assignment based on the output quantity. That doesn't make sense because the tenderloin has way less weight, right, compared to the ribeye steak. So for those kind of scenarios, we also have possibilities where we can say, look, let's go with the market value, because that would assign the costs by the actual value of the different items. All right, and that was some nice information regarding our manufacturing specification. There's actually more, right? There's always more, but let's focus today on the shrimp process, and let's have a look at how does the actual production order looks like. So let's quickly go to our release production order, because I already created them, and let's have a look at our shrimp with tomato sauce. And that's how the actual production order based on our manufacturing specifications with different batches look like. So we have the batch IDs, batch 1, batch 2, the system automatically splits the whole production order into different batches, and I already outputted 2,700 packages on pallets. Whereas for our co-product, our trading order, well, somehow similar, but different. Also different lines, but we just see all those multiple outputs. Every output has its unique line on a production order. And from here, it's pretty much standard Business Central, except the cost distribution in the background. We can just process those production orders, do the outputting, do the consumption. The big difference is, of course, just that, of course, I only post the consumption for one line, and then the costs are getting distributed automatically. I don't have to do that step by step by step. Well, and before we reserve ourselves some time to talk about questions and to wrap it up, how does the actual output good look like? Let's go back to our inventory summary screen, because that's actually providing all the information that we need. So what do we have here? Again, we're starting somehow to go or to have like a repetition of what I'm explaining here. Why? Pretty similar, like with the raw materials. We would assign a quarantine status as soon as we do the outputting, right? You see that this is still on our production bin code, so I just outputted multiple pallets. And again, I would now add the quality module on top, just to make sure that all my finished or intermediate goods are getting quality tested and based on the result released, and so that I'm good to go to ship them, or maybe I need some rework. That would, of course, also be possible. And here we actually do see that I've already created another production order. I did some output postings for our large and the small shrimps, just because I want to raise attention a little bit on our warehouse capabilities here as well. It's not the main topic for today, but when we're talking about food projects, well, or not just food, to be very honest, also pharma or chemical, pallets are just state of the art. Usually every client has pallets. We want to move them. We want to use a scanner. And so what do we see here? Well, I outputted 2 different items with different lots, and they're both on pallets. So far, pretty straightforward. I could use our scanning application to put away them, to move them. And when it comes to picking, I do actually have the capability, and now let's focus here a little bit, the pallet ID. I could even pick multiple items on a new outbound shipping pallet. and generate all those shipping documents like the SSCC labels for the shipping of the pallets, the bill of lading, all that nice stuff that I need for my logistic process. That can be all done with our warehouse and dispatch and packaging application. And here we do see, well, I just grabbed the partial quantity from our large shrimps, and I also added some of the smaller shrimps, and now it generated pretty easily with our mobile dial like a new outbound pallet. And yeah, we do see that the picking is already done. This is in our shipping bin code. And as the status is green, from a process perspective, I would be now good to go. Do the posting, create my invoice, create my dispatch advice, my ASN if I want to, and we can make our clients and customers happy because we ensure that we only ship inventory that we are allowed to ship. All right, George, are there any questions? You are the master of the chat.
Let's see. No, you did such a good job. Nobody had any questions. You answered everything. No, we don't. So, but yeah, there's so much to this solution. The purpose of this is just to let everybody kind of get a taste of it, to decide if you might like to learn more. We'd be happy to follow up one-on-one with you. This is our first one this year too. So back to camera. And then you have to let me be a organizer again to share again. So you can reach us at info@yaveon.us.com. I mean, info@yaveon.us. There's no .com. Sorry. And we would be happy to answer any questions and do any follow-up that you might have. We also have some attachments. If you click on the little paperclip thing at the top in the right-hand corner. So we have some brochures you can download that provide some more information about the key functionality that we provide for various different industries. So we have one for food, chemical, med device, and pharma, I believe. So we'd like to thank everybody for their time today.
All right. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.